Back here on One Bills Live, Chris Brown, Steve Tasker, pleased to be joined now by Bills head coach Sean McDermott, also a proud member of the NFL's competition committee. And we should tell you, Ticketmaster is the title sponsor of this year's NFL Scouting Combine coverage. Ticketmaster is the official ticketing partner of the NFL and the Buffalo Bills. Coach, you've been at work already a couple of days here. I mean, I know you got some media responsibilities here, but competition committee, you guys are the first ones here, I think.
Yeah, we're cracking here. Meetings half the day yesterday, started at 1 o'clock, got done around 5, and then today all day up until I'm visiting with you two friendly faces.
How many guys in the room for that? How many are there? Is there a set number of?
Just picture a ballroom, and it changes based on who's in, what other subcommittees are being loaded in.
Yeah.
But picture a ballroom, or at least a half a ballroom, and it's filled with committee members and subcommittee members.
There's a couple dozen guys. Yeah, at least. Yes.
At least.
Yeah.
So let's just, because we're hearing the reports coming out about some of the tweaking for the dynamic kickoff. How would you characterize the changes that are being considered? Would you characterize them as tweaks to what we saw last year? Would that be the best way to kind of describe potential changes that could come?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a good way to describe it, because of we feel overall that the result of the kickoff play, the new kickoff play, the dynamic kickoff, was it hit the mark in terms of the desired goals, right? In terms of getting the play back in the game, injury reduction, right. And so. But now it's tweaking it. To your point, Chris, about how we can even enhance it even more.
Okay. And by enhancing, you mean making it like fewer touchbacks, a little few more returns, or I mean, you don't want to go overboard and have 100% kickoff return rate, but nevertheless, you do want a more less than a throwaway down, right?
Right, and so there's a lot to talk about with the kickoff rule and how it affects the game, how it affects punts and whatnot. But really, it's how can we make it better? The 35-yard line's been thrown out there in terms of the touchback, but even increasing the level of returns, right? As you said, so. Changing the game that way.
That would seem to do it. If you move the touchback out, if you kick it out of the end zone and they're going to get the ball at the 35, well, that's a little less incentive you have for not giving the guy a chance to return it and having maybe being forced to or incentivized having more faith in your coverage guys to tackle him short of the 35, right?
Exactly.
I mean, that's the thought of it, right?
It is. That's the kind of the genesis of the idea. And, I got to be honest with you, when I first heard it, I was like, but listening a little bit more to some of the conversations that are going on in the room, it's something that we seriously need to think about.
What about the landing? I tell him Brownie a little bit.
He's got another idea
to expand the landing area.
He's got a few
He wants
ideas.
to expand the landing zone. That's what he wants to do.
I'm a free thinker.
To where, like
I'm a free
East
thinker.
Aurora, which is where you live, to Orchard
halfway
Park,
to
and then
just halfway to
Denver,
Orchard Park,
West
right? Then that way, yeah. By expanding the landing area, that would open up a different type of kick, a line drive kick, get the ball on the ground, bouncing around, a little more chaotic.
Right.
And that's something it's really hard to do now because the 20 as the landing area, you got to carry it a minute, and that's hard kick. It's harder to make that kick.
Yeah.
So there are but like I said, there are all kinds of unintended consequences. But if you tweak it a little bit and you open a little crack of a door, somebody could bust through that door and take advantage of the rule. But what about expanding the landing area and making the kick a little bit different type of kick?
Well, that's been talked about a little bit.
Right.
We visited on that. I think where we ended up this past season was a good spot to start from, and like I said before, it's covered most of the desired goals. So trying to keep some level of consistency, continuity,
I get that.
and just tweak here and there to enhance again the already desired result that we got this past season.
Speaking of special teams, you've got a new special teams coordinator in Chris Tabor. I believe this is the first special teams coordinator you've had since 2018 with prior experience at the pro level. How high on your list of priorities and what you were looking for in a special teams coordinator was prior pro level experience in the role?
I would say very high, and it is really hard, like it is in most positions or cases overall, to find what I would say are top shelf experienced guys, because usually they're tied up somewhere else. And so when had a chance to talk to Chris a little bit and then spend some more time with him, and he's been a guy I've been he's been on my radar, just tracking his career. He's had a lot of success, been to a lot of different places. He's one of the, call it, top tier, top shelf guys that are out there, and
a lot of top 10 finishes for him in a lot of those 4 major groups.
What were some of the issues that when you talked to him about what his philosophy was, about what he expected from you and what you were going to expect from him? I imagine some of it had to do with personnel that would be made available to him on the roster, decisions about who could play, who he could use, how much practice time. Some of this, is that kind of the conversation?
Well, it is. It's part of the interview process, and just getting it more and more familiar with what his philosophy is, and what my philosophies are in terms of, from a head coaching standpoint, how I see special teams, utilization of personnel, who's available, how many are available. So just really just kind of going back and forth of in that regard to, hey, how does he see special teams overall, and then within each phase. Chris is a little bit of a different situation, whereby he was out last year, out of the league, and had a chance to sit back and watch the new kickoff take place, and also study some things and study other coordinators and whatnot. So we had a great conversation. It happened fast from a standpoint of a couple interviews, and then we're able to make the decision there. But happy to add him, happy to have his family with us.
There is a new senior defensive assistant as well, and Ryan Nielsen. His specialty, at least recently in his career, is he's been a big proponent of man coverage. I know that's something you guys turned to a little bit more last season from a defensive philosophy. Do you feel that he's going to be able to maybe enhance or increase the variance of what you guys traditionally have done defensively?
Yeah, I know that that's out there. Really kind of outside the box thought, I would say. Really, Coach Nielsen is his forte is defensive line play. So he's really being brought in to be, senior defensive assistant, so macro level area, but also really hone in on the defensive line. Okay. That's really how he has come up through the league and had a lot of success, and so he's going to work together with Marcus and with Jason, reps there, and again, spend most of his time with our defensive line.
Gotcha. I got to ask you too. One of the things that came out, and I want to go back to the competition committee for a minute. This replay review. They're going to expand or tweak what they can do, and maybe expand a couple of plays where they weren't allowed to intervene before and now can. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh boy,
it's a big can of worms to open, right?
It is. It's going down that rabbit hole potentially, which I think it is important. I think we're at a good spot, and so expanding it, we need to be really smart on how far that goes and when that line in the sand has to be drawn again, because that needs to be a very clear line. So that's my opinion on it. And I feel like, we'll get there. It just takes time, in terms of having good conversations and sometimes hard conversations also.
Right. The outside observers, who, as we all know, have opinions, feel like if in refortifying your defense, speed is what you guys need. That just keeps coming up. We hear it from callers, not their opinions carry as much weight as others, but speed keeps getting brought up. What's your philosophy on maybe adding speed to a defensive unit? In general.
Well, listen, here's the thing about speed. Everyone loves speed. Speed and small, that's not how you want to have speed. You want to be speed and big and powerful, right? That's the right combination of speed. But yes, I do believe in speed. We do believe in speed, but speed with size and power and explosiveness.
One of the
sign up for that.
Yeah, one of the benefits, we talk about it some too. One of the benefits of being big and speedy is durability and speedy, because the lighter you are, and we've been, during the 17 years of the drought, we've seen where you've got 24 guys on IR, and they're all kind of light guys playing in the box, and they just get beat up. But we're here now, and this is a draft that's supposedly deep in big dudes down inside, those guys that are genetically different that you don't, that
Don't grow on trees.
That don't grow on trees.
Then us three?
Yeah, like the rest of us, like civilians. So, yeah, so, when you come in, and certainly you don't have to tell us, the entire strategy, but certainly you've got a plan.
You want me to tell you rounds 1 through 7?
That would be nice. That would be nice. I'd be shocked if you actually could, but this is a time where you got to evaluate, and the roster now is going to be different after free agency begins, but you still don't know about free agency. So how do you sort through what's probably going to be the draft looking after free agency, and your plan in free agency, and if you can carry out your plan in free agency, then what's the draft going to look like?
Right, and I think that's really where Brandon and his staff come in, because they've spent close to all year when we're playing and coaching, looking into the future of who's coming up in the free agent market, and then how that aids us in the draft, and then how we can offset the draft, so on and so forth. But listen, at the end of the day, we have to be shopping for the best football players out there, right? And so if you say we have to find this position, or we have to, get this player, there's only a few players that you say that about, right? Other than that, it's best player for our football team, best player available, and that's where you make the right decisions more times than not. Right.
Last one for you, because we know your time is short. Your defensive coordinator, play caller, is the same guy year over year for the first time in 3 years. I know the scheme hasn't changed, but even you said last year it's going to be different because there's a new person calling it. This is the first year in 3 years that's not happening. How does that best help or serve your defense with that continuity?
Well, there's been that continuity through the better part of 3 years, whether I was calling it Leslie or now Bobby. So I think the biggest thing now is Bobby coming back for year 2 in that same role, that same seat. And then again, my, being tied closely to Bobby and our being aligned philosophically on what we want to be, who we want to be defensively. And that listen, it's you have to continue to evolve every year. So, and studying the game, study where the game's going. I mean, you look at the Super Bowl, you look at all these different areas to improve as a coach, to kind of, again, look into the future of where's the game going defensively. And usually it's based on, hey, what's out there and what the offenses are trying to do. And we just believe in, hey, trying to be out in front of it by maybe 5+ years, trying to, but then people catch up. So you got to go another 5 years out again. And that's the work you got to put into it. And that's the visionary piece of it, I believe.
Last one for me. I see my computer here. See this? This is the projected 10 picks of the Bills.
Well, they're projecting anticipated.
When is this going to be, for sure, going to be accurate? When do you guys find out when the compensatory picks come out? When does that happen? Because that's what it looks like now. You got 30, 56, 62, 108, 131, 171, 175, 179, 206, and 208. When is that going to be set in stone instead of on a computer screen?
What am I, the president of the United States right now, or
you're
what?
actually a little bit more important at this moment?
Well, I'm just saying. I mean, you want me to also write in here who we're going to draft at all these positions?
No, you can tell me that later, so I look smart.
And give you the
tell me that later in secret.
Well, we are looking. I mean,
yeah.
We are anticipating, I should say, to get some compensatory picks.
When do you find that out? Do you know?
We'll see. We'll see. I don't know exactly
the day.
It's
like the next week or so.
Yeah, it's coming up.
It's close.
It's got to come up. Yeah, it's coming up soon. So, I mean, that'll be something, again, that'll help us. And you lose some players that went on to play well at other spots, and we're happy for those guys. But also, you get those picks in return.
Right, yeah. So, all right, well, good luck with it. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming
guys.
in, man. It's great seeing you.
Thanks as always for
Enjoy
your time,
the week,
Coach.
Coach.
We appreciate it. Good luck getting your work done this week.